And you recognize not just the majesty, but the friendliness, the camaraderie of this beautiful friend, angel. The angel stands and begins to paint pictures in the sky, you might say, or around you, of something very specific for you to see. And then you realize what this angel is doing. The whole purpose is to show you the future. It's a generic kind of future, not a specific one. The angel paints civilizations that are smiling. The angel paints the future of earth. The angel paints skies which are not polluted. The angel paints for you the evolving joy of humanity. A joy that comes from no starvation. A joy that comes from no war. A joy that comes to having figured out how different cultures can live with one another, with totally different ideas. I mean, even ideas about God. They figured it out. A culture that has an allowance of belief for another culture. Those are the pictures that are painted in the air before you. The angel of the future, you might say, is telling you it's going to be different than you think, dear ones. Do not stress or worry about what is coming for this planet, because you are here to help at difficult times. And then the angel paints a picture of you, and it shocks you and surprises you. You recognize it, but you don't recognize it. You really don't. And this may not sit well with many of you, but the picture is of a child. And it's not you as a child. It's you in the future as a child. Then the angel goes further and paints children from the child. And that'd be your children. And the angel sits back and says, this is your legacy. You will begin it this time in this lifetime, and you will be enjoying it the next time, and the next time, and the next time. All this the angel is showing you is the evolution of the consciousness of this planet to a place you don't expect, where humanity eventually understands joy, compassion, and the absolute need for some of these things like kindness and allowance, and the realization that you're all the same. At the core level, you all have this same kind of soul. If I said it was the same soul, you wouldn't like that. But in a multidimensional way, it is. You come home, and home is the same culture, the sacred one, this one that you're visiting now, the one that greets you unconditionally and says, welcome home. But on earth, it's changing. And you may say to yourself, well, it doesn't look too good right now. And the angel knows what you're thinking and says, welcome to a planet you have asked to be on that's in trouble because it's in correction, because it is eliminating dark, because it is waking up, because it is becoming colorful from black and white, because it is changing in a way that is exceptionally difficult. It's a change of consciousness, and it may take generations, and you will be here when it does. That's what the angel is saying. And you may even be so bold as to say to the angel, well, this is wonderful, but how about me? How about my future? Right now, what's going to happen to me? And the angel looks at you and smiles and holds your hands and say, picture all things beautiful. And the angel looks at you and says, promise me, picture in your mind all things beautiful, and then put you at the center of it, and it will happen that way. Because you are powerful, human being. It's time you realized it. Relax, 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 and be loved. This is the future. For you, for humanity. It's what you think that then becomes the reality. That's the energy of consciousness that is love. Thank you, human, for crossing this bridge with me to hear these words about how magnificent you are and how much hope there is for all that is coming. Thank you, human being, for enduring ugly things and darkness and spreading the light where you can and being patient while you do. I am Kryon, in love with humanity. And so it is.
and to your internet than simply watching a video. And many things can happen. It has to stream properly from our end and be received properly from your end. And in there, anything can happen. We had a thing happen the other day where we have somebody who was watching literally, I would say, blocks from when it was being streamed in the studio and having a hard time with it. And then at the same time, people were getting it 3,000 miles away perfectly. You just don't know. So here are my instructions, and they are the same instructions every single time. If you're having trouble, and this program is starting and stopping, first of all, refresh often on your browser. There's better browsers to use. We like Chrome and Firefox. They seem to be a little more robust for streaming. But if you are having troubles, and what I do mean is it's the refresh, the thing stops, the audio jiggles around. If that's the case, it's going to be frustrating for you. And I'm saying just turn it off, because approximately an hour and a half or so after this program, the recording plays. And so we're recording all of this. The recording is from the studio, so it's perfect. And in the replays, it's much easier for your browser to have that without the starting and stopping. It's better to do that than to be frustrated. And so I'll just say, these are important things that we want to give you, and especially in the channel in the Circle of 12. So don't be frustrated. Turn it off. Come back at the replays. So, and that's for everybody. The replays are there for everybody on this free Wednesday. Well, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I am super excited because today's guest speaker is going to be Peggy Phoenix Dubrow. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know Peggy, she's the founder of the EMF, which is electromagnetic field balancing technique. Mm-hmm. And I just want to share my story. I know I've written about it in my books, but when I had personal trauma with my marriage collapsing, I went on a journey and a search, and I ended up moving to New Zealand, and my very first yoga class in New Zealand, I was given a Kryon book, and it was Kryon book 7. But the thing I remember about that book the most is there was a chapter in it from Peggy on EMF. And as soon as I started reading it, I lit up like a Christmas tree. My cells were vibrating, and I just knew I had to do this work. And I got so immersed in the teachings of Peggy, and it completely changed my life. And it was through that I actually met Lee. So Lee, the first time I ever met you was because I was going to South America.
You were in Chile.
To do the training with Peggy. And
That's right.
You were also there as part of the team. And what's your story with Peggy?
Oh, I've got stories with Peggy. The thing that I would like to say, even before I tell you my stories, is that Peggy has stewarded, I would say, this whole process of EMF balancing worldwide. And there's nothing like it. In fact, it has many layers of, I would say, teaching and understanding. It's not all that simple. In its, I would say, basic form, it is. However, when you get into it, you see that there's a complexity of it, and it just gets better and better. And all of this, I say, she has stewarded this. No one else has anything even similar to this particular process. There's a book about it as well. But it doesn't stop there. We've been doing this now for many, many years, and I'm about to tell you my Peggy story. And in those years, I've watched Peggy not only refine this, and the phases kept coming and coming, and the classes kept coming, but then there was a big switch. And suddenly we have Peggy doing other things, including channeling. Now, I knew this was coming. I knew it was coming because the shift created so many different kinds of things. Today, we find Peggy mostly at home, caring for her husband, and she's working 24/7, and she truly is. She's giving classes, readings, EMF, and more. And so all of these things is Peggy Phoenix Dubrow. Now, here is what I want to tell you a little bit about my story. Are you ready for this story?
I am.
Okay.
I'm not even sure I've heard it.
Yeah,
so I'm definitely ready for it.
See, the reason I want to tell it is because it involves your country.
Okay.
By the way, she's from Australia. Could you tell? Peggy is the one of, if not the original, Kryon team member. Did you know that? I think I told you that before. That's before Robert Coxon or Dr. Wolf or any of those.
Yes.
And she also represents something in my life, and that is the first time I ever left the States to go anywhere. And I felt that Australia was probably the safest place because they spoke English, kind of. And so Peggy, being, as I say, the first team member, it's the first time we ever went offshore, and Peggy was with us, and the two of us then presented. Now, it wasn't the only time we went to Australia, because I think even in 1 year, we may have gone as many as 3 times. Australia is enormous. It's a huge country, and there's lots of cities, so we wanted to touch on as many as we could. What I want to tell you is about the first time we went. So here we are, just truly, as you might come and think of me, my first offshore meeting. This is what I was doing for a living now for 30 years here, but there's always a first time. And so there were a lot of new things to learn and be and do and whatever. We found ourselves in Brisbane. Now in Australia you call it Brizzy.
Yep, it's Brizzy, and actually I think this particular time you're talking about is the 90s.
It was
the 1990s.
96, I think.
96,
yeah.
So...
And I'm pretty sure it was Brisbane. And those of you who are looking
Brizzy,
privy to these things, say, no, it wasn't. It was, I think it was because we were on our way to Cairns.
Uh-huh.
And Brisbane's a big city, and it had a wonderful concert arena. Now, this arena that it had was multiple, meaning that it was so large you could have multiple concerts in it. And they were all then walled off in a way, and they would configure it in different ways. So you couldn't hear even a rock concert next to you.
How cool is that?
Well, I didn't believe it, because we were about ready to do a Kryon meditation channeling with a big crowd, and we found out that next to us, the day we were going to do that, was a rehearsal for a rock group called the Smashing Pumpkins.
No way.
Yes. Have you ever heard of the Smashing Pumpkins?
Yeah.
Right. Is that an Aussie group?
No, it's an American band.
Group. All right.
Yeah.
So obviously they were on tour. And we were at first saying, okay, is that really going to work? Because we're going to have really loud stuff in one section. And here we are doing meditations. So we brought in the person who was responsible for those kinds of questions, the caretaker at that time of the facility, and we sat him down and said, I'm really concerned about noise, because what we're doing, we're a meditative group. I didn't tell him we were channeling because I didn't want him to, get up and leave, but that's another story. And so he said, Mr. Carroll, he said, you're not going to hear them at all, but there is one other thing. There's always one other thing.
Yeah.
And he said, we are handing you these wireless microphones that you've rented from us. And he said, the Smashing Pumpkins, well, they use wireless guitars. So that means that they send their signals from their guitar playing to their amplifiers. And he said, we cannot control the frequency they're going to use because they're not using our equipment. Huh. And there is a potential chance that they might be on your frequency. And I said, and what does that mean? And he said, well, you might be channeling and suddenly get raucous guitar music
oh my gosh.
Through the PA system. Whatever Smashing Pumpkins would sound like. Like that. And of course, that was just one more thing for this novice to worry about.
Yeah.
Because I'd never done this. I hadn't been in places like this. A big place, a lot of people, microphones, lots of sound, and I could just say, oh, the guitars. So it was on my mind. Mm-hmm. Now, you got to understand that my countenance, what Kryon talks about, and I do, I go inside, I say, Kryon, is this going to be an issue, and whatever, and all I get is a wink. I was like, it's not going to be an issue. And this is what I got. I talk to Kryon in the shower. Mm-hmm. This is crazy, but I do. So I'm there, and I get such a loving feeling, like, and a wink as well, no problem. It's enough for me. It always is enough for me. So we go and do the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Not a peep, not a guitar. It was
Kryon saying it's going to be fine.
Yes, but there's more.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Later we heard that while the Smashing Pumpkins were in rehearsal, coming through their guitar amplifiers very loud was, greetings, dear ones. So our signal went to them. So
the opposite happened of what you thought.
Exactly. These are the kinds of stories.
I wonder what they thought.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows what they thought? First of all, they thought there was
possessed.
It was exactly. It's knowing them, they probably threw away the amplifier.
This is junk equipment.
It's junk. There's somebody in there doing funny things. Yeah. We have a lot of stories, and what we've decided to do is to share these things that no one really has heard ever. And these Healing Wednesdays, just to make you aware of some of our history and some of the things that I've had. And that, what made that fun is it was in your country. I didn't know you then.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. And I was just...
I didn't know me then either.
Was this before your awakening, 96?
Yes,
All right.
a lot before. I guess that time when I went to New Zealand, I moved there in 2006. So it was a good ways before that happened. Yeah.
So Peggy continued with us and has, and ever since, she worked for years and years and years as the first team member, and then we added Robert Coxon, and then there were others. And so for many years, over a decade and a half, I think, all around the world, we had Peggy, and Peggy was a favorite. You're going to meet her, and you're going to meet her in an interview that we're doing Zoom today. And what interview Zoom, you're probably used to that, just means that she's coming to us from Arizona. And so you're not going to get to see what she really does. And I'll tell you, if you saw her in performance, what she really does is she comes out on the stage, and I always remember this, much to the consternation of the technicians. She always says, turn up the lights, turn up the lights. They'll spend an hour lighting the stage, and it all goes away when she wants the lights, because she wants to see the people that she's talking to, and then it starts, and they love her, and they laugh, and they cry. And I can remember the days when she was strutting up and down that stage. It's just, this is who she is, a vivacious blonde gal. So that's Peggy Phoenix Dubrow, and you're going to meet her a little later today.
Yeah.
What do you want to do next?
Well, I think it's almost time for a channel, isn't it?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Is everyone else ready?
I think so.
I think they are too.
Good.
Yeah. So I will do a very short meditation. And really the meditation, it's just